Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh to some of you, and peace out to the rest of you. The blackest hearted, blackest minded, blackest man on social media, signing black in and shining again, asking you to hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. And I uploaded earlier, but it just became available. However, you all aren't going to hear this one until another 8 hours afterwards, probably. No, actually 10, about another 10 hours after this recording is when you all should hear this. As I'm talking just a few minutes ago, my last upload became available to you all about gratitude, that message to the monotheistic Negro. And when I recorded that, I was talking to black folks in North America, South America, the Caribbean, and the continent, and even Melanesia, those who are monotheistic, believing in one Lord, one deity, who pray to this Lord and deity. We must remember, because black folk are in trouble almost everywhere, but we must remember that we should call on this deity when we are also in good positions. Those are the times we should call on him to thank him. And blessings tend to come about more so after having done this. I tend to worry about the future just like any other person, but then I have to remember I can work to change things or to set things right ahead of time. They may work, they may not. I may succeed or I may not, but I can give it my best. However, the worry doesn't necessarily help. As a motive to fix things ahead of time, it's good. But as an anxiety after that point regarding things I cannot control, it does not help. And that's what I have to shed and get rid of. We all do. I have to remember this myself, because I also have to remember all the times that the Lord has come through for me and certain things were supposed to happen bad against me and they didn't. And I have to remember the times that my Lord has come through for me. You see, our Lord loves us enough for us to have a shot at salvation and paradise. Now, I'm going to tell you that salvation is in Islam. The only exceptions might be people who actually never heard anything about it, and they went with the revelation that did reach them. But I'm going to tell y'all it is. But in order for you to see that in your own lives, well, you got to live it yourself, and you'll see it. But this also has to be understood too. Waiting until you're in trouble, even if you are Muslim, is going to lead to a relationship in which either you just give up altogether, you give up your faith because you're being tested because of it, so you give it up so that you won't be tested, in which case you sell out and you even give up the faith, as I've said. Or the other option is that in order to keep you, since you mean well and you do want the salvation that you know about as you understand it, then your Lord just continues to try you and test you and test you. You do something wrong and he just really punishes you harshly, and that just becomes how your life is defined. Strife, and you just holding on to your faith and patience all the time. Because if things were easy, you would just forget about him. And you don't want to. So he grants that request the way that you are ready for. In other words, black folk, it is okay for us, and even maybe necessary for us, to become a people who will get closer to him in gratitude than in trials. Because right now it's all trials for us. We love the Lord, but it's always trials. I mean, not just trials of ease. Not just trials of ease. It's always for us trials of hardship, the tribulation. Now, the Lord tests with hardship and ease. You can be tested with ease and pass that test with gratitude and a willingness to help somebody else, especially if they don't know that you're doing it. That's the best situation. And this is one of the secrets that I want to be able to tell you, which I can only tell you as long as I am anonymous. No name, no face. This is the only way I can tell this to you. And this is something all of you can try in private without telling anybody else. And things could get better. And it's up to you how much you let them know that things have gotten better in your life. You don't have to disclose it if you think that this is a hater or a jealous person. You can if you think it's someone it's not, and then maybe it could help them. But the point is, it is good for us on an individual level to become a people who get closer to him in gratitude than in tribulation. Okay, so you have the tribulations. We all are going to have them. But you get closer in gratitude. And, well, come on. Wouldn't it be easier to remain closer to this Lord, this Creator, this King of Kings, through gratitude than through always suffering and hardship? And I mean gratitude for the ease and the willingness to pay it forward, even if no one knows it's you doing it. Especially if no one knows that you're doing it, because see, you already know. You know how it is. If you got a barber shop and you give one person a free haircut because he's down and out, especially if it's us, the next day you're going to have a line of Negroes out there waiting for a free haircut. We already know how that works. Now, you might give a business owner of another background a free haircut, and he comes with something else in exchange. I don't know. Maybe you hook a plum up with a free haircut. He comes in, he drops a chemical into some sinks and some toilets that will eat away at whatever is clogging it before it really gets backed up. Preventive maintenance for free, saving you several thousands over the course of the next few years. That could happen. An electrician, he comes in, fixes some wiring where a lamp was blinking. Brother, he brings his boys to get free haircuts the next day. Really? So we do have that problem. So I understand. And this is what I was trying to talk to, this is what I was trying to get across to the audience as I was talking to Imam Saad on Facebook earlier this morning, you all's time. Or rather, maybe, this morning, you all's time. You all are here this nighttime, your time. You see, I'm telling you what I'm telling you because the Imam, and he said this, wanted to look after wanted to look after a widow and orphans in order to get some really good deeds that would take him to paradise. He's trying to shoot on in. And his intention was good. A lot of men do things that we now know are simping because they mean well. It's not because they're pushovers and weaklings and this sort of thing. Most people are not pushovers and weaklings, men or women, black or white. Most people are not. Most people are just nice and they got boundaries and you cross them and they'll politely excuse themselves. Most people will do that, which is in the middle between any two extremes. Slaps one because you think they'll cross a boundary on one extreme and just let people walk over you on the other extreme. Most people are not either one. Doesn't make sense that he would be on either extreme either. He wanted to do some good deeds that would help, and guess what the work happened? He said it. False accusations, a lack of respect, but there was something else. Worse, reliably speaking, worse men than him were treated far better, reliably, repeatedly, as a phenomena. Now, this is one of my Muslim brothers. Did I not tell you all that this was a problem even in our communities? In the West, I mean, not worldwide. No, if he had married a woman here in the Gulf, and he could marry with kids in the Gulf. If he had married a woman here in the Gulf and looked after them orphans and looked after the widow, she would know this man is a hero. Others would know he's a hero. They would know about this. And that would be the end of it. They would know, they would understand this man's a hero. You don't just take a man like this and run him off and throw him away. That's not how you do that. I think I understand where this comes from. A lot of sisters, when they come in and they take Shahada, they're coming from a church tradition. I'm going to say this about that tradition because this is it's a bad idea for all of us. I know Christianity as it's modern day understood, not initially, but as it's understood in the modern day, relies on the vicarious substitute sacrifice of the Messiah, peace be upon him, for the salvation of other people. But I'm going to tell you why that theology is dangerous for families, dangerous for the formation of black families today. What it has done, because it is largely the ladies that are in the church and stay there and make it up until, some of them do leave and join us and take the Shahada. There is an issue with that, and that is this idea that the innocent must suffer for the guilty, not the guilty. The innocent must suffer for the salvation of the guilty so the guilty don't have to suffer. This skews the understanding of God's justice. In other words, right becomes wrong and wrong becomes right. The good have to suffer, not the bad. The good aren't even suffering with the bad. The good must suffer for the bad so that the bad get to keep on doing the wrong and getting away with it and not have to suffer. That's what it is. And that's why in a theology, that's what it means in their theology, that Jesus, alayhi salam, peace be to him, had to be God, the Son of God, and I seek refuge from this, and then had to sit there and suffer crucifixion and punishment for the sins of all human beings. He has to be sinless. He has to live all the way up to age 33 with no sin and certain things missing from life, even under conditions that weren't sinful. He has to miss on all of these things, get nailed to a cross, given a crown of thorns, beaten, flogged, that's the same thing, marched up to put his own cross into the ground, carrying the cross, which is heavy as a feather mucker, to be nailed to it and strung up like a common criminal, when he has not even so much as committed a sin, let alone any crimes. And this is necessary because somebody sat down and failed to understand that God can forgive without vengeance. They made the mistake of thinking that God needs vengeance to forgive. Forgiveness and vengeance are mutually exclusive things. People failed to understand that. Somebody failed, and a theology came about because of this, and is now affecting the minds of many African American and even other Western black women. Then when they take their Shahada, they still have this mindset with them when they come in and they judge the men. They're in church. They've already watched Disney movies. We know that screws them up. But the church is what gives them this idea of the vicarious and substitute sacrifice of the innocent for the sake of the guilty, being able to continue indulging and indulging and indulging and not having to burn for it. And they approach men, black men, the same way. Most black men are more innocent than guilty, especially where it comes to women and children. Most. And those are the ones, we are the ones, they decide they're going to nail to a cross for the sins of the few they've allowed to be guilty and never taken to task for it. Black men, we are not Jesus, alayhi salam. And I'm going to tell you, he did not say he was the Son of God, let alone God himself. And he did not come to be punished for what the guilty do. Am I supposed to tell you that Jesus came to bring injustice or justice? There is no justice in sacrificing the innocent for what the guilty have done. There is no justice in that. Now, if it's done mistakenly, then that's an attempt at justice. It's an injustice that's accidental if you mistakenly identify the innocent as the guilty. But when you sacrifice the innocent for what the guilty have done and you exonerate, especially when you knowingly do that so that you can exonerate the guilty, no, that's a conspiracy and a cover-up and a major obstruction of justice. To make a cosmology and a theology out of this is a major obstruction of justice on a universal scale. And this is the mindset with which sisters are leaving the church and going to the club to find their man. And in actuality, there's a narcissism in this too, and I'll tell you why. BGS touched upon this. They don't mind going to the good dude when they got nothing to offer compared to what they used to. It's okay then. They've got kids, big stomachs, a lot of debt, no skills, stretch marks, loose skin, they got all that, and they're perfectly okay with that, bringing that to these nice guys then, because even subconsciously they know that's a punishment. They know that, and that's why they demand these men still be so-called faithful, meaning monogamous or monogynous. They still demand it because it's just the psychological way to flog a man that's innocent and doesn't deserve it so that they can let the guilty get away with it. But BGS touched upon this. The other reason that they're doing it is because even though they're going to do this to you, they themselves are not willing to ever be seen as guilty. And so they're going to mistreat the good guys and well-treat the bad guys so that they can be seen as being more saintly and innocent than what they are, and never be blamed for anything. The good guys won't even blame them in many cases for how they've treated them. So they won't be blamed and castigated. And the bad dudes, well, hell, they just treat him extra well so that they'll look even more saintly in the eyes of their peers. They have to always be able really to blame the men. And that's why they will overlook the innocent man for the guilty man. Eventually, they're going to blame that guilty man too. Eventually. But not so much for any reason other than just making themselves look good. So anyway, I know I tied a lot together just now, but I had to because it jumped out at me when I was in the discussion with Imam Saad. Shout out to the brother. Thank you for listening. Black heart, black mind, black out. Assalamu alaikum to some of you. Peace to the rest of you. Black heterosexual non-select male power just because they don't like it. And black patriarchy until extinction of judgment day. And if you decide you want to do something nice for some orphans, you make sure you do it in a way that nobody knows it's you.